let us welcome the ninth speaker. The ninth speaker is Ms.Nanaka Takahashi.
Her speech title is A Step to Avoid Media Bias. A Step to Avoid Media Bias. So, Ms. Takahashi, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, Masters of Ceremonies and Honorable Judges. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Have you ever felt that you've been misunderstood? Or have you ever felt hurt or uncomfortable because of that misunderstanding? Every day, we look into the world through our phones and television screens. In such a world, misunderstanding and prejudice are filters that shape the way we see the world. We often say, seeing is believing. When we see something, we believe that it is the truth. However, what if people see what they want to see? We are targeted every time we open our phones. We open our phones, we're directed to websites and videos. We click, asking ourselves nothing. We are often not aware of our bias. We see what the provider wants us to see. If we see it once, we will most likely see it again and again and again, without questioning. This leads to a gap between reality and what we believe is reality. Confirmation bias can be innate or learned, but it does exist, and it can distort reality. I had a first-hand experience that made me realize how confirmation bias can lead to misunderstandings. When I was in 6th grade at elementary school, I applied to be a kid reporter for the American media outlet Scholastic Kids Press. I was fortunate to be named a reporter in 2021 when the Olympics were held. I was excited to share the Olympic news with the world and to introduce my home country. I reported the news on topics such as the Olympic torch relay, as well as stories inside the Olympic Village. Being a youth reporter was exciting, but there were also moments that showed how bias can lead to misunderstanding. One of these moments happened when I was the one being interviewed. The fact that I was only 12 years old interested people. I got interviewed by multiple Japanese and international media as the 12-year-old kid covering the Tokyo Olympics. In one of these interviews, I had a chance to talk with the German media. The interview went well, and I was excited to share my experience with people from other countries. I went home and waited for the article to come out. However, when the news came out, this is what I found. Nanaka appeared in front of us with so many Japanese TV crews overpowering her. Nanaka couldn't express her opinion. Her mother should have been more considerate in allowing the media to interview Nanaka. I was confused. I was angry. I was sad. It was true that there were Japanese TV crews there, but that was not the reason why I could not express my opinion. It just took time for me to think and answer in English. What angered me even more was how they openly criticized my mother for being controlling in a newspaper that would be read by many people around the world. How can they write news reports like this? I will never know what truly happened, but I have an idea. There is a belief based on prejudice that Asian parents are controlling and that Japanese culture is reserved. This is what the reporter may have expected from the Japanese culture, so this is what she saw. People see what they want to see, based on their own bias. Media bias can be even stronger when reporters ask leading questions to confirm their biases. For example, I had an interview with one of the biggest media groups in Indonesia. After asking me about my activities as a kid reporter, the journalist asked me, "What kind of food do you like?" "Well, do you like sushi? Do you like yakisoba?" "Oh, yes." "Do you know Bali Island?" "I'm sorry, I don't know." "Bali Island is blah blah blah. Would you like to visit?" "Yes, I like to go there." In his article, after some sentences about my reporting activities, he concluded, "Nanaka, who loves yakisoba, has a dream of going to Bali." Through my experience of being interviewed, I learned how important it is for the media to be objective, especially in a place where there are two sides to the argument. During my job in the Olympics, I interviewed people who both supported and strongly protested against the Olympics. It was difficult because I had my own opinion that was sometimes different from what I heard. But it was my responsibility as a media to fight against my own judgment or bias. So, whenever I listen to either side of the story, I listen with an open mind. I would try to understand the person's opinion, even when it was not my own belief. We, consumers of media, need to be aware of media and people's biases. We have to try to get the correct information by looking at many articles from various sources and perspectives. Most of all, we need to be brave enough to read the interpretations of information with which we do not agree. We need to see things that we may not want to see. If both the media and the readers take the steps, we can bridge the gap between reality and misinterpretation. In the future, I want to become a reporter. I want to become a reporter bridging the gap from one side to another. We can identify personal biases and perhaps honor the biases of others. People see what they want to see. But facts are facts, and truth is truth. Let's work together to bridge the gap from both sides. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Takahashi. Now, we have a question and answer session. Mr. Kubota, please.
Okay, Nanaka-san, thank you very much for your passionate speech.
Thank you.
My first question, well, let's talk about that Indonesian media.
Thank you.
Okay, suppose you were the chief editor of a magazine. Well, it could be like Indonesian magazine, it's fine. Which would you choose? And number one, the headline is not that interesting, not that catchy, but the article itself, the contents, is telling the truth. Number two, the title, the headline is attractive, but the contents a little bit exaggerated. And you need to know that headline must be short, must be easy to understand, and must be attractive. And you are the chief editor, you're responsible for the sales. Which would you choose?
Thank you. I would choose the first one because even when the title was not good, when the article is telling the true thing, I think that would be a better thing because I think media should tell the right information to the consumers to avoid biases.
Okay, my next question, well, for example, like about the COVID, many people say many different things. Many media says something different. Even the specialists, like doctors, says various things. How can we pick up the truth, how can we judge whether the information is correct or not?
Thank you. I think there is not one truth, and we consumers cannot decide whether it is the truth or not. But I think the media should write the correct information, only the facts, and try to tell the right thing to tell the consumers the right news directly.
Okay, probably this is going to be my last question. Well, as you said, you were the kid reporter at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Well, that's interesting. And talking about the Olympic Games, well, this is all the same. Many media says many different things. It was a success, it was a failure. And, well, as you say, media should talk about the fact, should tell the fact, it should tell the truth. That's right, but I think it's the consumer who makes the final judge. So, if you are the consumer side, there are so many articles regarding the Tokyo Olympic Games. Do you think that Tokyo Olympic Games was a success or failure? And why do you think so?
Thank you. I think it was a good game because many people were saying that we cannot expand the coronavirus, but I think it would be a good chance to know about the Olympic Games. And as a junior high school student, I wanted to know how the atmosphere is like when the Olympics is held in Japan. So I think it was a good thing to do the Olympic Games.
Okay, so maybe in the future, if the Olympic Games is going to be held in Japan again, maybe you will be a reporter.
Yes.
Okay, so time's up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kubota. Thank you, Mr. Kubota and Ms. Takahashi. Please go back to your seats.